Hi, this is Lou. Welcome to my channel. In this week's video I'm going to be making a repeating pattern. So this is something that I can use to print fabric, or I can use as a wallpaper on my computer or something like that. And it starts with a plain blank square of paper. You can use a rectangle if you like, but I decided to use a square, and my square is 15 centimeters by 15 centimeters. You can really make this any size you like. I use lots of patterns in my artwork, and they usually start by making very simple shapes on the page and then repeating them in lots of different times and lots of different ways, adding complexity as we go along. In this case, the pattern starts with these triangles. And for this one, I'm making them all different sizes, some big, some little, some in the middle, and I'm putting them all over the page. The important thing when making a repeating pattern, though, is to make sure you don't go up to or over the edge of the page. You can go really near to it, but just don't go up to the edge. You'll see why in a minute. So I'm just going to continue drawing triangles until I've filled the whole page. So now to develop this pattern further, all I'm doing is starting to join my triangles together. So going from the point of one triangle and joining it to the next triangle over. And sometimes I'll decide I want some smaller triangles in the gap and I'll add a few little triangles in. But mostly what I'm doing is just joining those triangles that I've put in together. You may notice that some of my lines are a little bit wonky, and some of the places where the triangles join are not exactly neat and clean. But I quite like that look. I think that if I try to do this really neatly and maybe used a ruler, yeah, I might get neater triangles, but I think I'd be missing something. And I think kind of seeing the hand of the artist in this is really quite important. So when you're creating patterns like this, try and think about putting something of yourself in them and making a few mistakes and making that be okay. Because it's those little wiggly bits, the bits where it's not quite straight, it didn't quite come out as you really meant it, that add character to the final piece. So you might be wondering how to make this into a repeating pattern. And I'm going to show you how to do that once I've completely filled in the area. I take my paper and flick it over, and then I measure halfway. So my square is 15 centimeters, so 7.5 centimeters, and I mark that. And then I will I'll do the same in the other direction. So I will end up with a cross on the back that goes halfway down the card in both directions. And then I take a craft knife and I cut very carefully along that centre line. And then I swap my two pieces of card over so that the edges are now in the centre. And I try and line them up really carefully. And then I just got a bit of washi tape and I put that on the back and stick them together with what was the edge now in the centre. And so I've done that in one direction. Now I'll turn it around and do that in the opposite direction too. When you turn the card over, you can see that you get this kind of cross shape where you've got a blank bit. And to create a repeating pattern, that will repeat seamlessly across a piece of fabric or card. All you need to do is to fill in that cross. Again, you want to be really careful not to go up to or over the edge of the card and only fill in the bit in the middle. It can be really tempting at this point to go right over the edge. And you can see there's a couple of bits where I think my pattern might not quite work. So what I'm going to do is take the tape off and move the that side of the card around. And yeah, there's a bit there that is not a triangle, but a quadrilateral, I think it is. So I can just add that extra line in there, and now that I know all of my all of the bits of my pattern are going to be triangles, and I can tape it back together. I use my patterns for screen printing. For that, I scan them into my computer and use Photoshop to create a tile. I can then print it onto acetate, or I can use it as a digital file. I can alter the colours, all sorts of things. If you'd like to see a video on how I do that, then let me know, I'd be very happy to make it. So this is the image that I've just drawn as a repeating pattern. I've used Photoshop to clear this image up a little bit and then just create a tile that I've repeated. I really hope you enjoyed watching that. If this is something that you'd like to see more of, then please do subscribe, and I'd love to hear any comments and questions you have down below. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again next week. Bye bye.